morning and welcome to Cover 2 Cook. We are on episode 36. We're going to be recapping the NCAA football. We're going to talk about NFL must-watch and give our betting at the end. We will also talk about how we did yesterday in betting not so well. But before I get too far, let me bring on my co-host, Mr. Tim Cook. How you doing today?
I'm doing good today. We had some really good games last night, and some that we thought was going to be good were not. So,
yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it was a Saturday where some upsets, but otherwise it was like games that you're like, what happened kind of thing. So let's get started right off the bat. The Georgia Ole Miss game. First off, let's just talk about this. The two SEC games we're going to talk about, horrible weather, fall season type of weather. So you have to know that going into this game. But this game was downpouring at one point. It opened up. But what do you think about this game?
I love the powder blues of Ole Miss. God, I love that. God, that was so good. You know, the first possession that Dart had, Ole Miss got the ball. The first possession, he throws an interception. But I think that interception was because in the previous play, he got sacked and got his ankle rolled. So he was throwing from his back foot when he threw that. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go. Jackson, the old Jackson Dart of old, he's just going to shit the bed again, Lane Kiffin. And, when he rolled that ankle, it was just like, and then you give them a short field. You give Georgia a short field. And Georgia took advantage of it, and they went right down and scored. So, I mean, they made it 7-0. I like that Austin Simmons they brought in. He lefty throwing the ball down the field. He was throwing darts, and he got him right back in the game. And I'm thinking, and then they bring Dart back in. I'm like, the guy's slinging it. But that's who got you to the game. That's who got you all season was Dart. If he can play, you're going to play him. And you could tell that he was still hurt. He was injured. I mean, that ankle had to be hurting. And they finally tied it up. Ole Miss started kicking field goals. And I'm like, you can't kick field goals against Georgia. It didn't come back to bite him in the ass, but, it was 16-7 at one time. And I'm like, Georgia's going to come back. But that D-line for Ole Miss is for real. And we said that, I'll give me a humble brag on that one. We said in a previous podcast, that front four of Ole Miss is good. And they got a lot of pressure against Beck, too. So, that was a big key, too. And, they just kept getting pressure, and he didn't have an answer for it. So.
Yeah, I just think that, you thought you just were waiting for Georgia to wake up the whole
right.
game. The offense was sluggish. The touchdown they score is off of literally just an interception. Your defense gets you in a good situation. You score off of that. Otherwise, Carson Beck didn't do shit. The wide receiver didn't do shit. And don't get me wrong. It was bad weather conditions. But Ole Miss went through the same weather conditions you are playing in.
Yep.
And still being able to perform their offense.
They could throw the football down the field. And that in the midfield and in the middle of the field was wide open for both teams.
Yeah.
They were all in that middle, and Ole Miss took advantage of it.
And then just felt like Ole Miss got breaks on things too Georgia got breaks on things that should have when the game would have over and if they would have won, we would have been like, well, that's what teams do, because there was that fumble and then he picks it up and it's like fourth and something, but then it was a face mask at the end and they go to first down. It was just one of these things where it gave Ole Miss every reason to lose this game because it felt like the college football gods were on Georgia's side. But Georgia's offense was like, nah, we're taking the day off. And that's the thing where you're going to start seeing some of these teams that are like, hey, we telling you only got one game because if you lose this one, you're done.
Right.
And Ole Miss performs. Georgia, hey, we're still in it. And it's really, and this is where I'll say this, and we were talking a little bit off air about this, but all these conferences are beating up on each other. And, you got the SEC where, we're going to talk about LSU, Alabama. Georgia gets beat going to Ole Miss. You got Vanderbilt beating Alabama. You got Tennessee beating, you could just bob. They're just beating them shit on each other. Yeah. And then, the Big 12, you don't even know who's going to win that week. Now you got the in this conference beating up on each other. Georgia Tech taking down Miami. And then the only conference that's not really doing this is the Big 10. It's Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana. That it's just those three teams. They don't lose. So when we think about that, do we take a little bit out of what these conferences are? Do you say, because how can you say that the SEC's got, well, they got better teams than the Big 12? they're all losing against their own conference.
Yep. Even on the road, I mean, and Georgia had 3 turnovers. I think 2 fumbles and an interception, or it might have been vice versa. You can't have 3 turnovers against a good team like Ole Miss. They will make you pay.
And Carson Beck is nowhere close to a Heisman.
No. Well, right. But he just doesn't have the wide receivers. Last year he had Bowers and he had McConkey.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that go-to person that he can throw to get him. And the offensive line that Rutledge, it had a bum ankle. So, I mean, he couldn't pass, he didn't have a whole lot of time to pass against Ole Miss yesterday. That front four, I tell you, I was impressed with that front four of Ole Miss. They got after it.
There was one play alone that Lisa was kind of watching, not watching. I was like, watch this. That the end, I think it was 45, comes off the end.
Yeah.
And it was a sprint. And the tackle dives out, can't even get a hand on him, and he just smokes Carson Beck. It was one of the fumbles that went to Ole Miss's way. And it was just like what? So I definitely agree. This was a good game, but is Ole Miss for real now? That's.
Yeah.
That's the question.
Right. Can he get now that he's gotten over the hump, can he keep building momentum with that? That is the big key. That's what his MO's been, is that he just can't win the big one. Well, now he did.
And we were texting back and forth because we said Ole Miss has got Florida next week at Florida. Now Florida gets spanked by Texas, but can they come back now and can give Ole Miss a run for their money? Is it a letdown game? But otherwise, they got Mississippi State to end, and they'll win that game. So,
that's a rivalry game. You got to figure that's a rivalry game. So anything could happen.
But you're looking at Ole Miss definitely. I mean, at this point, I'm saying they're in the playoffs because of that win. That is their.
Yeah, and I think Georgia still is, but if they can lose one, I don't know about the SEC, if they'll make the SEC championship with 2 losses. But
who else?
I think they're in it, but they're going to be a little bit farther back.
That's what I wanted to look at, is like, what is the standings for this right now for the SEC? Because if you're talking about 2 losses, who has 1 loss in SEC right now?
Tennessee, I think, does.
For now.
But Georgia goes to Tennessee next week. So that's going to be another key. Can Georgia rebound now too? So that's going to be big.
No, Tennessee goes to – you're right. Tennessee goes to Georgia.
Right. That's going to be a big game. That's going to be probably one of our must-watch next week.
Oh,
can they rebound?
Well, and again, if Tennessee loses, it's another 2-loss team. So who plays?
Yeah, right. So,
but that takes us to our second must-watch game. It was Colorado versus Texas Tech. Now, this isn't, the SEC. This isn't the Big Ten. This isn't the ACC. This was a great game in that respect of watching Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. And I'm glad that we said this week to watch, because those guys are absolute studs. Now, what I got to watch in this game, by saying it was a must-watch game, is they have a great roles, right? They have great roles in that their supporting cast helps when they need it. So Shedeur Sanders in the beginning of that game started getting hits. He started getting pressures, and it was like, okay, you need to open it up. What did they start doing? Bubble screens. Screens out to the side, bubbles. They started doing halfback draws. They started getting outside of this. So it opens up the pass rush. You can't get as much coming towards you. The other thing about this game was the defense of Colorado. They do a lot of this. And hey, back it up, I get it, but at the same time, that game got very hostile. Now, I don't agree with throwing tortillas onto the field.
Right.
Like marshmallows in the crowds, right? Like Notre Dame senior night, they throw marshmallows within the crowd, right? Not onto the field. And why I say that is because it delays the game. I get traditions, but you know that once you throw the tortillas, it's not going to stop after the first touchdown.
Right.
That's what happened. And then with the tortilla comes a water bottle. And then it comes something else. And they're throwing That's what you saw yesterday, was they had to stop the game multiple times because water bottles were thrown on there. One of the Sanders, okay, so not Shedeur, the other one. I don't know. I don't know. He's kind of Sanders family a little bit, but threw a water bottle at him, and he grabs it, and he's like, "Hey, you want it back?" And he throws it up there. And so
that's not good.
He underhand tossed it, right? He didn't whip it back at him,
right?
And everyone was like, "No!" And it was like he is like that. That is trolling, because he's like, "You threw this here. Let me get you back."
Right.
But this game didn't become much of a game in the second half. It was a game in the first half, but second half, Colorado took over. I think Texas Tech, this is the difference of when they played Iowa State, which we find out Iowa State sucks because they screwed me on one of my bets. But Colorado has a serious chance of the Big 12 championship. I don't know if they have a chance in the playoffs per se, because the Big 12 right now, I don't know, because you got BYU there that just barely wins. So what do you think?
Colorado, they started out slow. You could tell they came from a bye week. They just didn't look good. And then they just, in the second half, they put it on. I mean, Sanders had, 291 and 3 touchdowns. And then for the quarterback for Texas Tech, Morton, he had 275 and 2 touchdowns. And Brooks, that running back for that Texas Tech's got, that Brooks is really good. Yeah. He is really good, I think it was a close, really, until the end, where they fumbled the ball, that Morton fumbled the ball, and they scooped it up and scored. That was pretty much the game, and it was over. Yeah. And I think Colorado's got it. I think that I think they could make the playoffs. I think that Big 12, they don't play a whole lot of defense.
Yeah.
I'm not, they just don't. And that's why they hardly ever win, a national championship, is because they just don't play enough defense. You got to play a little bit more defense than what you're doing. And you can't start out slow like that. So, I mean, I think they'll be I think that would be a good game between BYU and Colorado if they both meet up in the Big 12 championship. I think that could be a very good showdown.
Yeah, and I think for the Big 12, that's their perfect scenario, because at a good BYU defense, which, right. I mean, they have a good defense. They didn't play as great yesterday, but they have a good defense versus a great offense of Colorado. And then BYU's offense kind of struggles a little bit, but can get some points up there. And then defense, it's like hit or miss, right? If they can pin their ears back, they're really good. Otherwise, they're going to give up points. I mean,
I agree. Yeah,
that is a perfect scenario for them. But I mean, I hope you guys did watch this game, because Travis Hunter, I watched the third down play. He thought it was pass interference, was overthrown. He goes to the sideline, takes his helmet off. They punt the ball, puts his helmet back on, and goes back out there. And it was just one of these things where I was like, that's high school football. That's not college.
Yeah.
Now, at my college that I played at, there was a couple kids that did play both sides of the ball. But to play at that level every play, it's just.
Well, we just haven't seen that in a long time. Yeah. We have not seen that in a long time. I mean, that's just.
But it's a trend starter. And I think you're going to see a lot more often.
Well, if you're a damn good, but you guys be a damn good athlete to play both ways. You're talking 80, 90 snaps.
Over 100 snaps. Yep.
Yeah, that's a lot of snaps.
Yeah.
You've got to be in damn good shape to be doing stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they never asked me to do it. That is probably. All right.
You're more of a lineman than the wide receiver. You played tight end in high school, so you have good hands.
We'll put you at hold the field goal kicks right now. So that takes us to our third game, Alabama versus LSU. So another shitty, rainy kind of game. But what do you think about this game?
Yeah, Milroe, boy, his stock went up, and it was a shitty kind of rainy day. But you know what Alabama did? They took the elements and they made it benefit them. Yeah. Because you know what they did? They didn't throw the ball around the field. They just ran it. And you know how they ran it? With Milroe. They didn't have to hand it off to their running back. They didn't do anything. They said, you know what? After our bye week, this is what we're going to do against LSU. We're going to make you stop our quarterback. And they couldn't. That defense was putrid. I mean, Milroe had 4 touchdowns, 185 yards rushing. That's just, crazy. He only threw for 109. So, I mean, he didn't have to do too much. But within elements, they just said, hey, stop us. Stop Milroe. If you can stop us, then you got it. But they didn't. And and again, here we go. Brian Kelly plays the big game at home, this is their first loss since 2022 on a Saturday night under Brian Kelly. So that's kind of a pretty good accomplishment, but Nussmeier did not look good, I mean, the Tigers defense gave up 420 total yards.
Yeah.
You're not winning very many games with 420 yards. So, I mean, I think it's just and Nussmeier only had 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He didn't look good. the whole team did look. It's like they almost didn't show up.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it was it's like it's weird to say that your home field was like you're too big for the stage, but it was like
Right.
it was too big for the stage felt like for LSU because Alabama came in and just goes down and scores, right? Jalen Monroe with the 30-yard touchdown or 20-some-yard touchdown, running the ball. And then, like, it felt like it went to commercial, and it came back, and it was just, like, downpouring. Which it was raining before the game, but I felt like the game started, it wasn't raining. And then, like, it went in commercial after they scored a touchdown, and it was like, all right, here's what's going to be, like, the rest of the game.
Right.
And LSU couldn't run the ball. LSU would have these 8-yard rushes every once in a while, but then they would get like to like 2nd and 2, and then they'd go 3 and out. Like couldn't get those 2 yards. That was last night. Definitely Jalen Monroe being able to just do whatever he wants. I mean, when you have more rushing yards than passing yards, you can blame it on either the weather or hey, maybe that's what your offense should do going forward.
Right. They played what LSU's defense. They played what was in front of them. And they were giving them, let him run. I mean, he had that 72-yard run. I mean, he put on the Jets and he was down. I mean, there was nobody stopping him on that one. That was just a hell of a run.
I've been saying this all year, and I have really just compared him to Cam Newton. I feel like he's Cam Newton kind of run quarterback because he's big, so he can get you that first couple yards. But like that 72-yard run, you saw it. He can go, and he
outrun all the DBs and everything. I mean, it was like whoa.
So, and don't get me wrong, changing speeds and changing momentum, it's a whole different ballgame, right, for defense. But when that guy put his head down, it was gone. So I definitely agree. You saw that Alabama thought about still throwing the ball, though, because when the rain was coming down, I think it was like the second drive, they threw one deep to Williams. Or, right, is that his name? Yeah.
Yes, yeah. The 17-year-old.
Yeah. And it goes right past his hands, doesn't catch the ball. And you're like, okay. Oh, and then, like, the next play, Jalen Monroe for, like, a 20-yard rush. And it was like, we tried. It's not going to happen. We're going to run the ball.
Yeah, we're going to go back. And sometimes coaches don't do that. They don't. They get cute. Yeah. And he did. He said, you know what? If you could stop our run, good for you. We'll do something different. And he just ran it down their throats.
And that's where I think on the LSU side, you saw them just like keep hitting their head against the wall, being like, now when you start losing games, get me wrong, you got to start scoring fast.
Yeah, right.
But you dug yourself in a hole because these interceptions that he threw, they're not even close. They're not even like it was.
No. And that Alabama defense is starting to play better now, which is very scary for other teams. Yeah. They're starting to click at the right time. So that's going to be very dangerous going forward.
With that question, or right there with that statement, who's the best team in the SEC right now?
Wow.
Texas put up 40-some points last night.
Yeah. I don't know, man. You just hard to bet against Alabama. It's hard to bet against them. I mean, Texas still has their flaws. I mean, yours didn't look that good yesterday, did it? Which we'll talk about later. But he didn't. I mean, he started slow, but then he got it. Even the announcer in about the second quarter goes, he's cranking right now.
Yeah.
So Texas it's hard to say. You can't. It's hard to bet against Alabama.
Yeah, but that's what I guess I was just saying with like the teams are just beating up on each other. But
let
me go the rest of the NCAA real quick. So number 1, Oregon handles Maryland. Number 2, Ohio State beats Purdue 45-0. We talked about Georgia, Ole Miss. Georgia Tech wins at home against Miami 28-23. So number 4 goes down. Texas wins 49-17. Quinn Ewers throws 5 TDs in this game. Penn State wins 35-6 against Washington. Tennessee wins 33-14. Indiana wins 20-15 against Michigan. BYU squeaks one out at the end, 22-21 against Utah. Notre Dame beats up on Florida State 52-3. Nevada loses to Boise State 28-21. Kansas upsets Iowa State 45-36. Virginia upsets Pitt 24-19. Colorado wins 40-27, like we said. Washington State wins 49-28 against Utah State. Clemson wins 24-14. Missouri wins 30-23. And Army wins against North Texas 14-3. What do you think about these games?
The BYU barely winning on that holding call.
Yeah.
That was a killer because they had him in the end zone for its safety and probably the victory. That was definitely a victory. Missouri came from behind. They were down 7 and ended up winning by 7 by scoring 2 touchdowns in 30 seconds. That was big. I don't know. I'm not betting on Missouri yet to be back, but that was a big win against Oklahoma. Come from behind at home. Indiana 10-0.
Yeah.
I think we got to give their props. They're 10-0 for the first time in school history. So I mean, they'll have a bye this week, and then they play Ohio State. We're going to see how good Indiana really is. I think Indiana could give them a run.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can beat them, but I think they can give them a run. Army and Navy, they both win. It's looking like they're going to have a showdown, and at the end of the year if they keep doing. I mean, I know Army. I think in 2 weeks plays Notre Dame. So I mean but that has nothing to do with the AAC. So that should be interesting. And then I don't know if you've seen that Cade Klubnik throw down the field.
Yeah.
That was dope. I mean, that was sick. That's just like he gets out of the tackle and then just wings it down there to that receiver for a touchdown. That was cool. So I thought, overall we're getting to the point now where everybody's beating up on each other, and what we think is going to happen doesn't happen. So it's going to get. I think these next 2 weeks are going to get really interesting.
Well, and I think the other story of this week is Miami going down. Number 4.
Yeah.
We talked about, maybe it was like 2 weeks ago, or maybe even last weekend, we were like, ACC's underrated. Blah, blah,
right.
Blah. They're overrated. They're trash. It is a trash conference. And why I'm saying trash is because they're going to beat up on each other, but none are going to when it comes to playoff time.
Right.
So Miami, you got to play defense.
Yeah.
Got to play defense.
Well, it came back to bite them in the ass they've been playing from behind all year long. And finally, Georgia Tech came and got them.
Well, and Cam Ward has saved their ass so many times with feet, with staying open in the pocket, and then it finally bit them in the ass when Cam Ward finally gets out to the side and stripped fumble, and it was like,
yeah.
The other one I want to talk about too, just because we're fans of them as well, as Notre Dame won 52-3. The eye test is there, and I'm going to say this as a person that's young into this podcasting. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That man's 32-yard run to start that game was awesome. That was like I feel like everyone that has talked so much shit about him, he had a great passing game as well. Yes, he late on some throws, but watch the NCAA right now.
Yeah.
Who isn't late on throws, right? Yeah. Who isn't? We're very critical on him because we are Notre Dame fans. We want the best, and we understand what it's like to lose one game and be done for the year. But watching that team play right now, that defense is clicking.
Yes.
Running attack with the one they have right there.
Yep. That's their MO. That is going to be their MO going for the rest of the year. It's running the ball and playing great defense. He still can't get the ball down the field, but will he have to? I think he's going to have to, because I think once they get into playoffs, these good defenses is going to make him throw the ball down the field. No, and I don't think he's got it.
Well, and my thing about him is more of like, when you're behind, defenses start playing a little bit more like a cover 2, prevent 2, they play back. And that's perfect for what they do, which is throwing the 5-yard passes, the slants, stuff like that, getting the running attack out on the side and bubble or halfback screens, right?
Right.
But if you need a 30-yard play, probably not going to happen from him.
No.
So I definitely agree but the final thing I want to say about college football before we move to the NFL, because we have talked about college football a lot, is I don't know if you watched College Game Day yesterday.
I did. That was so sweet.
We were ahead. With the the Ben passing and for Kirk Herbstreit. I can only imagine he went through. He actually it happened Thursday.
Right.
And it was an announcer on Thursday night. I could not imagine doing that. As a person that was okay with dogs, right? Had some dogs showing up, and then got my own dog. He's an old.
Right.
I cannot imagine what he's going through, but at the same time, like, he had the whole country, whole college football.
Right. Yeah.
So yesterday was one of these things where I was on social media and I'm like, I gotta get off social media because every other video was like the college putting their like rest in peace, Ben. It was like, I can't. Right. But I did see that he brought his younger pup with him.
I thought I seen a dog on the set, and I was like, well, what, but I didn't know that was his.
But we do have to It was Ben was
It
wrong.
was very good. I mean, even Lee Corso kind of grabbed his hand, grabbed his arm, just to comfort him. And I think I seen one on social media saying, Herstreet has kind of helped Corso these last few years, and now Corso can now help him.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just so awesome. Even the tribute was, yeah, and he broke down. It just, yeah.
Oh yeah. We were literally sitting there and Lisa was watching it and she was like, "Do you want to watch this?" And I was like, "No." I walked out of the room. I was like, "I can't see it. I'm gonna cry my ass."
Yep.
So then I hear her in there sniffling, and I'm like,
it was good. It was, and he even broke down like the last 4 or 5 words he could barely get out. So you knew that it was pretty.
I did say this to Lisa last night. I said, this was one of the big ones, but the biggest thing that we're going to see on College Game Day, what's going to be super sad, is eventually it's going to happen. And I hope for a long time, but when Lee goes.
Yeah. That will be that will be not good.
If you think you've seen Kirk this emotional,
yeah,
that is his best friend.
Yeah, I agree.
Time of College Game Day.
Right.
Later in later in this time, he's been like helping him because yesterday he started playing the Sweet Alabama song.
Right.
And Kirk looked to the crowd and he's like, because they were or the LSU the crowd because he was like,
right.
Not going that way because they booed the shit out of him.
Right.
Back to LSU. So I just wanted to bring that up, but before we get let's get to
that was good.
Before we do, how did you do on your bets yesterday?
Oh, I went 1-2. I had Florida getting to 20-21. Yeah, they didn't. They're ravaged with injuries. I think they said 12 players out because of injuries. Yeah, if I kind of would have known that, I probably would have went the other way. And then I had the Georgia, given the points, which they ended up losing. But I did sneak one in with Utah State and Washington State. That was a 20.5 point spread. They won by 21. So,
yeah.
So I went 1-2.
Yeah. Luckily you got that one because I went 0-3 yesterday. Shit's the bed. They suck. Stop talking about Big 12. I probably won't bet on the Big 12 going forward because my other 12 bets, BYU barely wins. They were given 3. They only win by 1, so I lose that one. And then obviously the LSU one, I lose that one, and I lose a SOTY to you. So it looks like we're even.
Yes.
We're just going to have to now bet some next Saturday as well.
Yeah, most definitely.
So in the NFL, first must-watch game is the Steelers versus Commanders. You got Commanders offense versus T.J. Watt and the Steelers D-line. What do you think about this game?
I like this game. This is good. I think going to be a really good game. You got 2 of the hottest teams playing. You got the Commanders at 7-2, Steelers 6-2. They're coming off the bye, which Tomlin is crazy. Good as far as he's 25-6 coming off a bye. He's that you got when you talk about that, that's an Andy Reid kind of moment there where he gets his team prepared after a bye. He gets his team prepared for the next game, and that's great. Russell Wilson's the main man, still under center. I mean, Justin Fields is, he's to the side. Washington has 3 of the next 4 home games, so they're going to have to really make up some hay. And that defense is, I think the key to this game is Steelers defense. Yeah. Can they put enough pressure on Jane Daniels and make him scramble and, do things that he is not used to doing? So this will be one of my bets. So I'm going to leave it there and let you.
Yeah, I mean, you even talk about the Steelers against rookie quarterbacks, right? So in an organization, they're 50-15. That's just not a Mike Tomlin stat. That's a Steelers stat. And that's, right. Steelers have won the past 7 games after their bye. Steelers now have Mike Williams. I don't know how much you're going to see of him. And really, he wasn't doing much for the Jets, but maybe he has a resurgence, right? Maybe he is. Right. But he's going into the same situation he pretty much was at the Jets. And what I mean by that is he is a veteran quarterback. George Pickens is the number 1, which at the time Garrett Wilson was the number 1. Right. I don't see where he takes a huge step forward, but Pittsburgh, Austin, I think his last name was, he kind of stepped up last week.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest the biggest thing about this game is Brian Robinson Jr. is out.
Yeah.
He's out. So what are you going to get now from the offense with Jane Daniels still kind of coming off that injury? He hasn't been able to run the ball. You're not going to Daniels is not going to be able to take off running. That defensive line is too good. You're just hoping he limits how many times he gets sacked because Steelers went out and said, "Hey, we are playoff contenders. And they went out and got another DN as well. So they have one coming from Green Bay. You got TJ Watt, which is probably, I'm going to say it, the best, if not one of the best.
Right.
I think this game, it's a must watch because of all the hype going into it. And I know you're betting on this one. I don't think it's going to be a close game. I think he pulls away on this game. But that'll be I think that's like a noon game, isn't it?
I think so too. And also too, I think Lattimore that they got from the Saints
is not
playing. He is not. He is out. So that's going to be, which, Washington hasn't had him yet this year anyway. So, I mean, they just got him. So it ain't that big of a deal that he's not going to be playing. So, yeah,
that is a noon game. And then our next noon game that we say is must watch is the 49ers versus Buccaneers. Now you're like, whoa. These two 49ers are 500. Buccaneers are 4-5. Why do we need to worry about these teams? Well, he's back. McCaffrey's back playing finally. I think this 49ers team, you're going to see a resurgence. Now, I laugh so much because people are like, is he back? Is he? And he's like, if I'm playing, I'm back. So
right.
I still contemplate, because you remember that Monday night game where an hour, 2 hours before, they're like, he's not playing. I don't want to like jinx or anything bad, but like, what if it's not this week? What if if he's back, this offense for the 49ers changes dramatically. They're getting back the wide receiver, the one that had the hip pointer. I can't think of it.
Oh, yes. Yeah, keep going. I'll look it up.
But he's coming back. They're kind of getting some people back. Obviously, Debo is possibly going to be in the lineup as well. So you have this offense coming back. But what has kept 49ers in games is that defense.
Yeah.
Pearsall on the offensive side that's going to step up, I feel like, on the wide receiver side as well. I just think this offense. Now, you come back to the other team, Buccaneers. They lose this dramatic loss. Everyone's talking about the overtime loss against Kansas City. Can they bounce back? Can they bounce back in this game? Because their defense played pretty well against Kansas City.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
They're going to have to play good against this 49ers offense as well now with Christian McCaffrey. But I think the biggest thing about this game is the tight ends. See George Kittle have a big game, and Cade Otton. Cade Otton's became Baker Mayfield's number one target since these injuries with everyone else, because wide receivers are not as dominant. So those are the two people, if you have in fantasy, definitely I'd play this game. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, and this is this is a must-win for both teams. 49ers have got to. They can't have another loss because they can't get, because the Cardinals are playing. They play the Jets later on, but they can't get too far away from the Arizona. And they've got a hard schedule coming up too. Their schedule gets hard with Seahawks, Packers, Bills. That's tough. That's their next 3 games. That's going to be tough. And Tampa, they don't want to get farther away. If they lose again, now they're farther away from Atlanta. Now you're going to have to hope for a wild card. And I can't see that happening out of that division. I think they're going to get one, and that's going to be Atlanta. Tampa's defense is 30th in the NFL. I can see, and I think CMC is going to be on a snap count. I don't see him playing a lot, but I do see him playing. They're going to work him in. A couple plays here, a couple plays there. I don't see him. I think he's going to play. I think if he's able to play, he's going to play. And and the Bucs just have way too many injuries. I think the 49ers are going to get this one. I just think I think after that game Monday night, I think they could have a letdown, and I just don't think that. I think that 49ers defense is too good, and they'll pressure Mayfield. And like I say, he's leaning on Cade Otton. That's about it. I mean, he's got the other Laughlin, I think it is, or another wide receiver. And and I think they'll shut down Irving and Rashad White. I just think the 49ers is just the better. I think they're going to get going. They could get dangerous.
The only thing I would say I don't know about that is because we thought the same way against Bucs versus Chiefs. So I just, it's what Baker Mayfield are you getting this week? You know what I mean? And that's hard to say that because you're like, it's up to Baker Mayfield. Well, it's really up to what the people around him can do to allow him to be Baker Mayfield, right? So but I just think with the 49ers, Fred Warner is a first ballot Hall of Famer. The way he plays this game is old schoolish, right? The Brian Urlacher, the Ray Lewis, the hard hitting, but smart with the football. Or smart with where the football's going. So I definitely agree. The last thing I wanted to say is Bucks defense is on third down is 30th against the pass and 28th in the points allowed. I'm not a math genius, but that's
right. Well, and now you've got CMC back, and he can run the ball and also catch the ball out of the backfield too. So that's a big key now. So he can check it down and throw it to him if everybody else is. So
well, and the thing about him is even if he's on a snap count, those are big plays.
Yeah.
And if he gets the ball, it could be a big play. So I think people kind of forgot who he is. But that takes us to our Sunday night football game. This is our last must-watch game. Lions versus Texans. Jameis Williams will be returning after suspension after using a little Viagra. Just a little Viagra. That's what got him suspended. Sue him. But what do you think about this game?
Yeah, this is, the Lions coming off that big win against Green Bay last week, for their sixth straight. These are two teams that are playing pretty good. I mean, kind of going in opposite directions. Texas, they're reeling right now. They need Nico Collins back, which now he's been upgraded to questionable, which I have in my fantasy. So this game is a night game. So now I'm going to have to go, luckily I have Jameson Williams that just is coming off the suspension, 2-game suspension. So now I want to play Nico, but I can't, so anyway, we don't know what's that, Texas is going to be without their DM Will Anderson. That's key. That is a big loss because now it's going to be hard to get pressure up against Goff. Goff has just been lights out. I mean, he's throwing it at like 78% completions. It seems like, I mean, he's just, Houston has allowed the second fewest yards per game. If anybody can slow this team down, it will be the Lions. Yeah. But I think with them key injuries, I think it's going to be hard. I think with even Collins, Houston's offense has been struggling. Even with Collins back, I don't know. Tank Dell's now hurt. You've got Diggs that's not, he's out for the year. Mixon, I mean, you can only lean on Mixon for so long. And, you've got to. And I think with if Collins plays, will help Stroud maybe get this offense back up and going. Yeah. I think this is also going to be a statement game for the Lions on national TV.
Yeah.
This will make, if they can win this one, I think they're leaning really towards that as a favorite for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think your key matchup in this is Goff versus Houston's defense, right? And we say this often. We're like Goff against the defense. Goff has performed, right?
Yep.
But this Texas defense has only allowed 160-yard passing yards per game, and that's third in the NFL, right? So can he shut down the run? Or can he shut down the pass? But that's the thing. Detroit's got the run game. I mean, they're going to have two running backs on pace to have 1,000 rushing yards this year. That is crazy. So
that is crazy.
I just feel like the caveat that the Lions have right now is, you want to stop the pass? We can run the ball. Oh, you want to stop the run? We can throw the ball. I mean, we have so many weapons, and Goff has been playing just smart football. I think on the other side of the football for Texans, yes, Joe Mixon's having a great season. Even if you get Nico Collins back, what Nico Collins are you getting back? Because I think it's a desperation, bring him back kind of thing. Like, hey, we're not throwing the ball as well. We need to bring him back. Tank Dell is supposed to play, so you have that weapon. But Tank Dell is he's like the generic brand of Nico Collins.
Right.
It's just like he gets you yards, but it's not those yards, right? I definitely agree. This would be kind of funny if the Texans do lose to the Lions because they lost to the Vikings, they lost to Green Bay, and then they're possibly going to lose to the Lions as well. That also shows the NFC right there.
Right.
When we talk about these other teams, you're like, they might fight for a wild card. Nobody's fighting for a wild card. The NFC North will take the wild card.
Yeah, I agree. That's where it's heading.
And Vikings slow down. I don't see it. Both teams are, and it was so funny because I saw Booger McFarland or whatever his name is. He was on there, and they were like, "Who's the biggest competition for the Lions in the NFC?" And he was like, "Green Bay." And he was like, "Green Bay." There was a sloppy game, but they're. And the one person was like, "Well, I'm surprised there's probably Vikings fans at home being like, what the hell? Like, why aren't we?
Give us our
And he goes, well, don't get me wrong, they're second on the list. So he's saying his three top teams are the NFC North. You're not gonna. So I want to say Detroit, the 7-1 start is the best since 1956.
Wow.
Last year they were underdogs. They did really well. They kind of showed, this year they had the expectations and they have performed. So as long as they can stay kind of injury free or limit the injuries, I don't see a team in the NFC that touches them. No Eagles, no anyone else. I think that's the team this year.
I agree. I mean, yeah, they are. I mean, and they could show it tonight. So that's gonna be. It's good. It should be a good game. I think it's still gonna be a good game.
Well, and there is a game. I kind of forgot about this. There is a game going on right now: Giants versus Panthers. And we just want to say this right off the bat, Germany. I saw it on Pat McAfee. He said the same thing. We're sorry. We're sorry that this is the two teams that we brought to you.
Yeah. It isn't like last year. No, not by a mile.
Yeah. And then at noon today, you have on Fox, you have Patriots and Bears. You got Bills and Colts, Broncos and Chiefs, Falcons and Saints. With the other two games that we said must watch, 49ers, Buccaneers, Steelers, and Commanders. Vikings versus Jaguars are also playing at noon. 3 o'clock slate, you have the Titans and Chargers, Eagles and Cowboys, Jets and Cardinals. Tonight, you have the Lions versus Texans. And on Monday night, you have the Dolphins versus the Rams. What do you got for your bets this weekend?
I've got Patriots and Bears. A matchup between 2 first-round picks. You got Caleb Williams for the Bears, number 1 pick. You had May, number 3 pick. The Bears have lost 3 straight after starting out 4-1. They have got to get a win because their brutal schedule of the NFC North starts, I think, next week.
Yeah.
So that's going to be tough. It ain't going to get any better. Patriots coming off that heartbreaking loss in overtime last week where May threw that pass that threw it up in the air and the guy caught it. I mean, but then they end up losing in overtime. Patriots have won 10 of the last 15 matchups against the Bears. So their last meeting, the Bears did win in Foxborough. So I think the key to this game, Bears offense are getting to May. Can they get enough pressure to May to offset? Because he's a hell of a runner, too. He can run the ball as well. So he can scramble very good. The Bears are 4-1-1 against the spread this year. Patriots have been underdogs by 6 points or more 6 times this year, which is a lot, and only covered the spread twice. So you look where I'm heading. I think the Patriots keep it close, but I like the Patriots and the 6 points against the Bears.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of points for a team that's disappointingly playing right now. I mean, there's a lot of news, and don't get me wrong, I'm now a Wisconsin, so okay, I'm not a Illinois anymore, but like I still listen to 670, and there is a lot of just bad publicity coming out about the Bears right now.
Well, and their locker room is in disarray, and I think it's because of the coach.
Yep.
I mean, they're doing a lot of things. These players are doing, like the DJ Moore taking the play off, kind of, he ran out of bounds, and then he kind of didn't. He just, as the play was going, and I think there's a lot of dissension. And they paid a lot of money for DJ Moore. I mean, his for 3 years, $110 million. So there's a lot of dissension in there. I don't see him getting rid of the coach right now, but by the end of the year, I don't see Eberflus coaching there next year. No way.
Well, and final thing quick about the Bears is I watched something about that they would do the same thing for the 3rd time in a row. They went and got Trubisky. They gave a coach a 1 year. He got fired. So then they went and had a new coach. The new coach got rid of Trubisky, went and got Justin Fields. Then they fired that coach, got a new coach, got Eberflus. So then Eberflus came in for 1 year of Justin Fields, and then they got rid of Justin Fields. They go out and get Caleb Williams. They're about to do the same thing. That right there is poor organizational.
Yeah,
so,
it is. Yeah, it is.
But for my first bet, you know what? I'm going to stay in the NFC North. I'm breaking the Cardinal rule. I'm taking the Vikings -6.5. I think with Mac Jones playing for the Jaguars against this defense, it's given up points. Don't get me wrong; it hasn't played as well as it has, but it's more about the confusion that they bring to the game. Mac Jones is not that guy. Okay, he's not that guy that's going to cover or to handle this. I think the Vikings on this one is if you're a player prop bet kind of person. Justin Jefferson's due for a touchdown. I have him on fantasy. I would love for a couple touchdowns today, but I think he's due for a touchdown today. So if you're looking at player prop bets as well, but I like the 6.5. I think this is a statement game for the Vikings. Hey, people are forgetting who we were. We had a controversial loss against the Rams, and then we barely lose against the Lions. Like we're maybe 4 plays away from being undefeated. So
right.
This is a game where they kind of bring it back in.
I totally agree. I think the Vikings, Mac Jones is he's a backup for a reason because he's not very good.
Yeah.
And I think the Vikings can make a statement win out of this one.
What do you got for your second bet today?
Bills Colts. Bills are at the top of the AFC. If they, they're just clicking right along, and you got the Colts, they lost on Sunday night 21-13 in their last game. Can the Bills keep the momentum going with Josh Allen? He's playing MVP kind of ball right now. Joe Flacco needs to play better, and they got to get this running attack going with Jonathan Taylor. They did not last week. And you can't lean on the 38, 39-year-old Flacco to run your team. The Bills opened up as a 5-point favorite, but it's dropped to 4.5. The Bills, in each of their last 3 road games, have been favorites and have covered. Colts are 7-2 against the spread. I think Josh Allen is playing way better ball than Flacco, so I like the Bills and giving the 4.5.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think after watching the Vikings go against the Colts, that and it was Joe Flacco's first game back with the whole controversy and stuff like that. But I definitely agree. I think this is a game where the Bills, and it'll be one of these ones where if you lose the bet, you're like, God damn it, because you just
right.
The Bills, it's like they always have a couple games where you're just like they should have won that game, and that's
right.
this. For my second bet, I'm going against the Jets and the Arizona Cardinals. I know Arizona Cardinals have been playing a little bit better football, but I think the Jets have resurged. I think after we saw what their they played Thursday night last week?
Yeah, last Thursday.
Yeah,
or 2 Thursdays ago. Yes,
yeah,
right.
They played the past couple Thursdays ago. So they played, and I felt like we just saw the opening of Breece Hall, the offense kind of going Aaron Rodgers. I also think Arizona's defense is not as good as what Jets have seen as recent. So causing a little bit of this Aaron Rodgers upset. I like the Jets in this one. They're -1.5. I mean, you can take the money line on this one as well, just to reassure but I would take the 1.5. I think they win this game. Could be down to a field goal. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Garbage points at the end. But I think with that DN coming back for the Jets, now you're going to see him play.
Right.
Was in the game last that Thursday, which was on a short time. This one, you get a week and a half worth of
practice. Coming off a mini bye. Yeah.
And Arizona gives up sacks. So
right.
It's a defensive play for Jets.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the biggest deal is, can the Jets do it 2 games in a row?
Yeah.
They're coming off the bye. They look really impressive, on that Thursday night. But can they do it can they do it back to back? Because they got to string on some wins, because if they don't, they're not making the playoffs. And this Aaron Rodgers is a letdown. It's a failure. If they don't make the playoffs, they got to make the playoffs, or it's a failure. Picking up
Rodgers. Your third bet today?
We're going to do Washington and the Steelers. 1 second. Washington is NFL best 7-1-1 this season against the spread. Pittsburgh's 6-2 against the spread. So, I mean, these are pretty good teams. Pittsburgh opened up as a 1.5-point favorite, but the line has flipped to Washington, a home favorite at 2.5. I like Tomlin and what he's doing in Pittsburgh. He's coming off the bye. Give me the Steelers, and I'll take the 2.5.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't understand the flip. I don't know what caused the flip. Like the Steelers got better throughout the trade deadline, and Washington's losing players. Like they're not like Brian Robinson. Right. I don't understand the flip. I just see money coming hard on that. That's the only reason that would cause the flip. But right. I agree. Pitt on this one. I will say you might have to sweat this one out a little bit though, because I think Pitt's going to keep it close in the first half.
I do too.
For my third bet, I'm going to the Sunday night football game, Lions versus Texans. I think we talked about this. One team's kind of going one way, the other team's kind of going the other. I think this Lions defense is playing very well. With Branch and all of them, they went and got another D-end to help from what the loss to Jarius Smith or whatever, which he's worth like round table because he's played for Green Bay, he's played for the Vikings, he's now playing for the Lions.
He played for the Browns too. That's where they got him from, was the Browns.
Yeah, but he's played out of 3 out of the 4 NFC North teams.
Right.
So I think he'll handle this game. I think the Lions will handle this. It's a -3.5 on this one right now. I think the Lions handle it. I am a little concerned about the half point. If this game does get close and it comes down to a final field goal, I don't want to lose on that half point, but I feel confident that Detroit's going to handle it early and just take it away through the rest of the game. So I'm taking Detroit with a -3.5.
You know what? I'll bet you soda, and I'll take Houston.
Oh,
I think if Collins plays, I think Houston could win this outright.
oh yeah. I'll bet you a soda on that one, and I'm even half tempted to up it up to a 6-pack. That's how I'm that.
Well, that's how much confidence, huh?
Yeah.
Nice.
I have much confidence against LSU too, and those.
Yeah, how'd that work out for you?
Yeah. But that is our week of NFL. So we will be back on Wednesday to recap the NFL. I hope you guys got to watch us on YouTube or StreamYard. If you want to just listen to us, we are on Spotify. But we want to thank everyone so much. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you guys on Wednesday.